Anybody seen a crazy woman running around looking for a harlot? She looks like Dick Cheney in a dress. No? Oh, okay. Ah! Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh. Excuse me, sorry. Long ordeal. I'll tell you later. Hi. Ooh, oops. No. Hello. Well, I guess we all have to make our entrance some way. Well, you know, think of it this way. At least I didn't have toilet paper stuck to my shoe. But this was not much better, I assure you. Oh, everybody looks so dark. Oh, hello. Oh. You know, talk about sexual harassment. I just came from my office. Is it my fault that I work for Mr. Motherhuffer? And then, you know, we talk, and then my breasts just accidentally fall into his hands. And then, while his pants just accidentally fall to his ankles. And then my pants just, you know, they just slipped off. And then before you know it, I slipped on his table, and then he slipped on top of me, and it was just accident after accident, and it was just slipping back and forth. It was just accidents. And then suddenly there's Mrs. Motherhuffer at the door. People are so touchy these days about these things. You know, what happened to the understanding of the 70s? You know, what's mine is yours. What's yours you can keep. Well, hello, hi. Sorry, am I all in one piece? Am I good? Okay, good. Sorry, I was in a little too much of a hurry. I didn't take all of my clothes off. Now, those don't mind. It's Motherhuffer's stuff. He can keep it. By the way, does anybody need any new employees? I'm assuming going back to Motherhuffer's firm is probably not going to be an option since Mrs. Motherhuffer owns the whole thing. Now, hi. I could hear the lady before said from Persia to something. It is actually Persia to Pooyaland, and it is well, it's technically not a one-woman show, and I will tell you why. For one, you know, as Mr. Motherhuffer said, you know, my girls have a life of their own, and who can blame him? But, you know, they are nice, aren't they? Aren't they, sir, on my left? Don't you think so?
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
Would you like to, well, maybe not you, I'm not sure where your hand has been, but the lady sitting next to the Mr. on my left, I mean, you know, do they not just inspire something within you?
I would say
Something,
so, yes.
right? And how about the gentleman in plaid? I mean, you know, when you think of great monuments, you think of you know, the Great Pyramids of Giza, there is the Eiffel Tower, and then I usually think of my breasts after that. It's like something pointy that will stay forever. Now, you naughty boy, I know what you're thinking. No, you can't touch them. You know, especially for the girl sitting next to you. We can talk later. But if you are thinking whether or not they are real, I have two things for you. Can you see them?
I cannot. I can see them, like,
Would you like to move to where there's more light?
I can see them now, yes.
Can you see them now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Do you think if you were to actually reach out and, you know, praise the Lord and have your hand on them, do you think you could feel them?
If my hand was on them, I would be feeling them.
Okay, good. Well, then we are reasonably on the same page. Then they're not fictional, are they?
They would be.
They are real breasts. No fiction. See? They even can have a close-up. See? Moment. Everybody has their moment. So, non-fictional breasts. However, if you are asking if they happen to be homegrown and factory bought, now that's a different thing we should talk about. But I have another thing to say to that. If all of us went to the Sahara Desert, all of us, and we all died, you know, I know, very uplifting thought. Well, if most of you died, and I was one of you, and in 1,000 years, they would come and find our bodies, you know, only bones and, you know, it's like maybe a Twinkie, you know, that the only way they know where we are from is by looking at the serial number of my breasts. Now, who can actually top that? Talk about a service to humanity. That's what I like to think of them. I'm servicing humanity every day. Now, hello, everyone. This brings us back to that it's technically not a one-woman show because, for one, there's Pooya, and then there is, James and Raquel, the one that made them and the one they aspire to be. And then we have 2 more guests, which I would probably need 2 chairs for them. Sorry. First, we are going to introduce Herbert. Sit, Herbert. Sit, Herbert. Thank you, Herbert. And then, let's see, there is another one. I know there usually is, so long as I'm concerned. Oh, and then there's Tyrone. Tyrone. Oh, I couldn't get a hold of Gino today. Now, welcome. And you're probably wondering, I guess at this point I can sit, we have our panel. Now you're wondering why Persia to Pooyaland, right? Persia, I'm Persian. I'm technically Iranian, but Iran doesn't have the same ring to it these days. Like you think of people with unkempt hair and, it's like countries that don't have gay people. And of course, because such a thing does exist, some gay people just, it's like live in one country and then there's a country no gay people. And then, of course, then there is, nuclear stuff. It's like, so you have people with lots of hair, no gays, and things exploding. Who wants something like that? No, really. Or when you think of Persian, you think people, laying about all day under the sun, drinking wine. I have no idea where people get this idea from. It's nothing like what it actually is. We don't lay out in the sun. We're already dark enough. And we can't drink wine because technically it's illegal. And we're all too busy because we have inflation and joblessness. So not a whole lot of people sitting around getting tan these days. But who cares about that? Because I have such lovely people such as yourselves. And I am Pooya, in case anybody missed that. I'll give you my number afterwards. Now, hello. Let's see. To my left, do I look all in place?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. What a lovely sweetheart. Only if I didn't have a boyfriend or 2. Now, what is Pooyaland? Well, I've been asked that many times. I sometimes wonder, depends on how much I've smoked. I come up with different definitions. But we'll go with the basic idea. First, you're not going to laugh all through this show. I've made sure of that. 2, you're going to learn some things. Well, one would hope, depending on how much you've drank or smoked. Your level of learning this evening may be somewhat altered. Just a tad. I can tell the man in plaid, maybe just a little lower on the curve this evening. Just a tad. It's okay. We'll explain to you later again. Now, what is Pooyaland? A state of mind. One's mind, being me, since I am the ruler of this particular land. I think the same thing. Pooyaland. It's where, let's see, it's where you don't get judged. Well, unless I really don't like you, then just run. But for the most part, you don't get judged, you get love for who you are, so long as you're not a Republican, you get cared for, so long as you never, ever even thought about voting for McCain and Palin. I mean, that's not just being a Republican, that's just being dumb. Who didn't think that at some point McCain might actually die? And the woman that kept talking about these plumbers, I don't know, I've never had a plumber named Joe. In New York, most of them are named Tony, Jose, Jesus, something. Who the hell is Joe Plumber? I mean, like, who wants a Joe Plumber running a country? A plumber should deal with plumbing, You don't want them running a country. I mean, would you? I mean, don't say you do. If you do, just, smile and say no. That would be okay. So long as you're not a Republican and you didn't vote for the Republican Party in the past election, and you also happen to have a reasonable good fashion sense, and it's like be under size 16, then we'll be fabulous. I won't judge you, I will love you, everything will be totally unconditional so long as you surrender to all of my conditions. And it is just a land of bliss. It's a land where you are absolutely nobody's bitch. Well, except mine. But that is okay, isn't it? I mean, it is fine. You know, when I was growing up, my mom always used to say, I would grow up to be a great tyrant someday. Well, actually... So, what I decided to do, I went on my own little path. I've been in New York now 13 years. I've been a designer. I've been lots of other things, but let's go with the legal stuff first. So, you know, it's like corporate job. Has anybody here ever held a corporate job? Corporate job, corporate job, corporate... I mean, come on, you can do it. I'm here telling you I did it. You can tell me. Come on, it's okay. It's nothing against you. Good, so long as you're no longer doing it. Are you doing it?
No.
Good, fabulous. I adore you, darling. Now, I did that. My first internship, let's see. I remember this tiny short woman with fake blonde hair came to me, you know, it's like I had a week-long internship. And my review was this. My conduct was satisfactory. However, the fact that I wore the same clothes every 5 days of the week at the age of 20, mainly because I didn't have money, or otherwise I wouldn't be having an unpaid internship now, would I? It would make sense, because if you have money, you're not going to be somebody's bitch for no money, would you? Would you? No, you wouldn't, unless you're really stupid, and then I don't want to hear from you. So she tells me this. And then I'm thinking to myself, I mean, like, you know, I'm 19, she's in her 30s, she's old. only if I could have seen myself now, I would have thought that part of it twice. But at that moment, I thought, oh. And she says this to me, and I think to myself, I felt, you know, I was about 5'9", and I shrunk down to about an inch, which at this point is probably the size of Ron Jeremy's penis. But, you know, well, you know, things do shrink as you get older. Things you need grow, you know, bigger when you don't want them to, but things you actually want to stay the same size shrink. You know, the evil part of humanity. What are you supposed to do about it? You get shorter, but you don't get thinner. You get shorter and you get fatter. You lose the hair on your head, you grow it on your back. I mean, what is the rhyme and reason? I mean, like, who thought of this? Now, anyway, after I grew to the size of Ron Jeremy's penis, you know, in that particular instance, then I decided that it really doesn't matter what you do, so long as you have the right wardrobe for it. You know, I mean, look at politics. There are all of these people talking about things they really have no idea, but they have these big words that fill in sound waves, and they have the right clothes because you think, of course, these people really should know. And then after that point, when I decided that corporate work was not really for me, because if I'm going to be anybody's bitch, you know, I am the most qualified to be that kind of cunt. I mean, it's not a job I can give just to anybody. Like, I always tell people, you think I'm bitchy to you? Be fair. I'm just as bitchy to myself, so there's no complaining for you. If I am rude to you, then just imagine what it must be like to live inside my head. You know, at least you only have a certain amount of time with me. I have 24 hours that I can't run away. Now just imagine what that would be like. Any takers on that? I didn't think so. However, I do have one moral out of the story. Every story has to have at least one moral. In this one was, I always think that I have been crawling out of the gutter. Unlike Lindsay Lohan, that she's been crawling into a gutter. I don't know how that works. The one, you know, when you climb your way out of the gutter, you learn so much. Mainly because you get to see everybody up their skirt and up their pants, and you see they're really not what they claim to be. Not at all. You know, it's like, big feet don't necessarily mean big other things. They just mean shoes that are much bigger than they need to be. Then what did I do after doing corporate job? I wanted to do something, you know, fulfilling. Like, you know, we all have that day that we wake up and I'm like, I want to do something that makes the world a better place. Right? Right? Yes. What an evil group I'm talking about. We all have days that we wake up and we want to do something nice. Right?
Right.
Right. Now, I love spontaneous answers. Now, so, you know, my day was more like 2 years. You know, my idea of spontaneity is if I only plan it 6 months ahead. So it's like, you know, when I want to do something really spontaneous, then I'll only think about it for a month, and then I'll check and, you know, pros and cons and, you know, think, and then talk to my computer, and then my computer talks back to me. That's after smoking a couple of bowls, you know, and then my computer says, no, Pooya, you should not do this. And then usually my computer says it in a much flirtier voice, you know, going like, Pooya, darling, I don't think this is the right thing for you. You going and becoming a veterinarian in Congo is not really your thing. And then I listen, because who can imagine me going to Congo, let alone shoving my entire arm up a cow's ass to make sure the calf comes out okay? You know, not really appetizing. No. So then I did massage. And for the most part, I have to be honest, it is fabulous. Like, you know, when you can do something that helps people, makes them feel better, they're happy, hopefully not too happy, but, you know, just happy enough. Just happy enough that, you know, when they leave your studio, they're like, okay, I will come back, right? That's what you kind of want. You know, when you work for yourself. When you work for somebody else, you couldn't give a fuck what they do. Sometimes I would like to start my day and have nobody that sends me an email and say, would you mind if I wear a diaper during massage? I'm like, well, you know, I mean, I like to think of myself as a very open-minded woman. Like, if you have incontinence, as some people do, so, you know, fine, right? I mean, you know, I'm a humanitarian, we all are. Incontinence is something that happens to some people, right? Well, that wasn't as easy as that went. I'm like, okay, you know, if it's a medical thing, I'm sure I can accommodate. No, it's not a medical thing. I'm like, I am me, I am centered, I'm open-minded. So long as I can do my massage and you keep your diaper on, I guess it's fine. Well, do you think you'll be able to change the diaper during the massage? It took me about 30 seconds to go through that visualization. What would have to happen that I would have to be changing your diaper? And then I thought, if you were 2 feet tall, you know, just an extremely smart midget, well, even that wouldn't work, you know. But if you were a child and you needed changing, you know, everything is smaller when you're 2 feet high. You know, smaller tushes, smaller other stuff, smaller stuff that comes out of the smaller stuff. But if you're 6'2", now, I think that you all know that's where my open-mindedness closed. I'm like, and I was very polite, sitting there sending an email back. I do thank you for considering me for your needs. However, I think with the money you're willing to spend, there are people much better equipped to deal with your needs, because I don't think I have the qualifications needed for your request. However, I do wish you the best of luck to finding someone to clean your poop. And I do wish you a great day, because just because I'm refusing them, it doesn't mean I shouldn't be polite at the end of the email. Now, that's what the younger generation thinks. Just because you want to tell somebody that I want to stick my hand down your throat, grab your colon, and wrap it around your neck, it doesn't mean at the end of it you shouldn't say sincerely yours. Now, does it? No. Good. You know, and then there's the guy that kind of thought, you know, we were doing a reenactment of, you know, Laugh-In, the talk show, the variety show from the 60s, so he kept chasing me around the table until I found this piece of wood that my darling boyfriend had put behind my counter. And it's like, I'm like, you know, this is my apartment, and I can beat the shit out of you, and there's not a single thing you can do about it. But I thought you liked it. I'm like, what part of stop and me running around the table did you not get? Imagine if one day a Herbert comes in. Oh, I didn't introduce, did I? I did, didn't I? There's Herbert and there's Tyrone. You know, since I don't want to be called a racist, now we'll do it with both. Hello, boys. Now, imagine for the people on the right and the people on the left, or maybe I should do reverse. Now, imagine, you know, that thing you do is kind of like, you know, you do a back and a forth and, sorry, honey, you've been through a lot. You know, back and the forth, and you know what happens after that, right? And if you don't know, then what have you been doing all this long? I mean, really, you're in New York, you know. So we get the idea, right? There's a back and forth motion and something happens, right? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Good, thank God. For a moment I was thinking, you know, it's like people needed a diagram for that. Now, the back and forth, and then something comes out of it. this is the irony of the universe. Me being the most open-minded girl that I know, I have a little bitty problem with body fluids of all kinds. It's like, it's okay, you know, blood is fine. Like if somebody's bleeding in front of me, I'll be like, fine, do you want a cigarette before you die? You know, it's like the general thing we would all do. But when it comes to, you know, that the whitish, sticky-ish thing that, you know, when it dries, it kind of like forms a crust and it smells like mayonnaise. You know? I have a problem with that. Like, it's so funny. I mean, I would have never thought the woman like me would have a problem with something like this. But like they say, you know, if you fry fried chicken, you can get some oil on you, which is why you should never fry chicken when you're naked. I can't imagine. Anyway, you like it? Are you sure? Mm-hmm. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. I personally have no experience, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, that was as believable as when I went to a shoot and somebody said, you need to look virginal. I said, I don't think you have enough makeup. Yeah. So, what happens to my poor little boyfriend? Actually, I guess of all boyfriends, you know, it's like he's got the right person because he's even less affectionate than I am. You know, last night I was somewhere and someone touched my arm. I said, I really don't like it when people touch me. And they said, why? I said, because I like it when I shove things where I shouldn't. That's what I enjoy about my communication with my fellow brothers and sisters. Isn't that a pity? And I have two. Anyone? No one? Right. Fine. You boys, you've lost your popularity. Just like Britney Spears.
Oh.
Oops. Well, I guess, you know, after something goes up, then it has to go down. The second problem, when I make love to people, I want to talk to them. I want to communicate. I want to be that closeness. I want to tell them such loving things like, you suck. This is the worst lay I've ever had. A little to the left, a little to the right. No, not that hard, a little harder. You know, basic, very constructive information like that, that every guy wants to hear from his partner. Don't you, sir? You do. And when I say it in an angelic voice like, not now! You know, I mean, who can resist that? I possibly can't imagine. Can you, sir?
I can't.
I know. I knew I liked you for a reason. I grew up in a culture that, you know, it was okay to eat like cow's intestines. We didn't do it every day, but it was a delicacy, or a cow's brain, or a cow's tongue. Now, imagine if you were dying somewhere. Now, first pointer, do not do this at home, please. If you're sitting somewhere in a gorgeous chalet somewhere, and there's a blizzard, and you can't get out, and there's no food, and there's your friend next to you, dead or dying, who really cares at that point? You know, it's like, if they are dead or dying, and the only way you can survive is if you eat a part of them. For your life, I hope they're not as skinny as me. You know, you want someone with a little more meat. If they do, I mean, can you imagine? It wouldn't just be prudent, it would be wise, it would be positively humanitarian to take a piece, because then you will survive. And they're dead. I'm not saying go around, you know, killing your neighbors that you don't like and say, Pooya said so. No, Pooya didn't say so. So everybody you like, don't go and card them up and say, well, excuse me, but Pooya said it's okay. You know, if I told you and go and shove your head up your ass, would you?
No.
Thank you. Thank Lord. I was so afraid you were going to say yes. Because then I didn't have something to say back to them. But if they were dying, you know, it's like you do that. I mean, think of it this way. Think of it this way. I'll give you a basic. Who eats pig in this room? Okay. Do you know what pigs eat? Okay. So you're willing to eat a creature you don't know, you didn't talk to, that you know eats its own crap, right? Who eats shellfish? We all like it, right? Now, do you know what they eat?
Crap.
They eat all the crap on the bottom of the oceans, which is even worse than the crap on top of it, right? But now, a person you've known and loved and cared for, and maybe even sometimes you fed, which is another reason you should feed your friends well. You know, you never know when that day might come. You know, and it's like, and you eat them. I mean, this gives a new meaning to organic eating. I mean, how many of you have been injected with hormones? I mean, my apologies to any transsexuals. You know, we love you just as much as anybody else. But, you know, aside from that, none of you have growth hormones, do you? I don't see all of you. Anybody with big muscles and a small head? Okay, so, I mean, you see, I'm not that far off. If you need to, if you absolutely, absolutely, absolutely need to, if you're out of Twinkies, if there's no Uncle Ben, if you're out of, you know, it's like that, you know, crappy soup that camels used to give, which now they don't anymore, and thank God for that. You know, the thing that looked like broth, and once in a while, like, you saw like one piece of chicken, and it was called chicken soup. And it's like, I'm like, okay, chicken soup, you know, they passed it through the chicken. Like, there was a chicken in this bowl, and then there was a soup in the other bowl, and it's like, I'm like, it was adjacent, just enough. Now, so, if it happens, now you know that Pooya said, it is okay. I mean, after all, the taboo with the Dahmer party, and I'm not talking about Jeffrey Dahmer. No, don't do what Jeffrey Dahmer did. Bad, 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 shame, shame. If you've thought of doing that, just smack yourself, because I don't know who you are. Smack, smack. And then do you know how you die? Somebody brings a screwdriver, and I don't know, what did they do to Jeffrey Dahmer? Somebody did something to him with a screwdriver, right? Now, anything with a screwdriver sounds painful. You wouldn't want that, would you? No, bad, bad, bad. However, the Dahmer party, they were stuck in the middle of nowhere, it was cold, they didn't have food, so they ate each other. For Christ's sake, it's become this dark part of American history. They were hungry. They were just hungry, they had no food, and the other people were already dead. And it's not like they had any land that they could say, aha! They had prior motive. There was no prior motive. They had no idea where the hell they were going. You know, no prior motive. So, that's my idea on cannibalism. You know, about love, care, preservation. Think of about recycling your brothers and sisters. Thanks, you know, I mean, I've had my time, and now that I'm an old woman of certain years, you know, I had my time, I ran around continents. I couldn't just do the block, it wasn't big enough, it's not enough people. But, you know, continents, it's like, you know, there was a time when my third book came to an end, it's like, I'm like, okay, I think it's time to retire now. You know, it's like, I had a kiss in every language. There was, you know, German and Russian and Polish, you know, Uganda and Portugal and Spain and different parts of United States and even Canada. You know, it's like then there was a time, you know, mother should leave others for other people that haven't been as lucky. And also mother can't walk anymore. You know, when you put all of that together, it kind of came to an end, which brought me to a fabulous point. Now I have this delightful boyfriend that we have a very intimate relationship. It's almost like, imagine how Ozzie and Harriet would have been just, you know, about 50 years into the future, and we don't have any kids, and we don't have white picket fences. I mean, who really needs them? The only thing I think about white picket fences, you can just fall from the sky and have one of them go up your butt. I mean, who wants a white picket fence up your butt? They hurt. Have you ever tried them? I've heard that they hurt. I mean, I personally have never tried them myself, you know. So we sit in a very intimate fashion. I sit on the couch, he sits on the floor. You know, we have our bong between us, which brings us to together. You know, we smoke and we have our good times. And sometimes he puts his hand in a very affectionate way on my knee and says, I'm feeling like I may be having a chop at some point in the near future. Do you think you'd like to do it? And I say, not at this moment, but thank you for thinking of me. And it's such an open and loving relationship that, you know, I mean, we can have sex with other people, but it's so open, it's so loving, we don't have sex with anybody, including ourselves. It's like 6 years, sex has gone less and less and less, not only with each other, but with other people. It's like, you know, if anybody is suffering from being oversexed, if you stay with us for a week, I'm sure we can cure that. I don't know how yet, but I'm sure we can. It's done it for all of us. You know, like if I want to have a rendezvous, let's say with a gentleman in plaid, you know, I mean, no offense to you. This would happen after the show, of course. But if it were to happen with the gentleman in the ugly plaid shirt, it would be, this is how I would word it to my somewhat significant other. I say, darling, I foresee that within the next couple of months I may be in the mood to partake in a somewhat intimate rendezvous with another person. And he says, good, have a good time. Now that's our level of intimacy. You know, when couples used to do such thing in the 70s, and I'm like, oh yes, I want to watch you do it with somebody else. In this case, it's like, I'm like, good, have a great time, cheerios. That's the affection we show to each other. And then when we actually want to show it to each other, it's really fabulous. Yes, it's so fabulous, it doesn't happen anymore. Not to say that I'm frisky or so much repressed or maybe even just dying for something, but it is lovely because it's open. And I do have the option if and when I were to, hopefully that time would come, when I can still do something about that opportunity. Now I'm sure all of you are loving this, aren't you? Maybe we can have a great time afterwards together, because I am definitely open. We've got to have open business sometime. It's closed at home, so I guess it's got to be open everywhere else. I want you all to know I am not glorifying drug use, because I would never glorify anything. I'm not that nice to do anything in that capacity. However, I did all of my party stuff. I'm a little older than you, so I'm going to have my maternal aspect on this. I did all of that. I moved back to pot. You know, you never tell somebody that you want to wash their hair at 9 o'clock in the morning, especially when you can't even do your own laundry. That being me. I can barely do my own laundry by myself. And I told this gorgeous, delightful boy, I want to wash your hair every day. See, on pot, you'd never say that. You wouldn't say much. And you pass out before you said anything too stupid. See, it takes care of itself. But on cocaine, you think you're smart. You think you're invincible. Worse than that, you feel you're attractive. And for most people, that's really bad. It shouldn't. And then they say things that would make them seem even worse. I know. I've never said it. I've been on the receiving end of it, of course. So, what are the morals? 1, oral sex is bad. Bad, 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 bad. If you want to have sex, do it old-fashioned style, like God meant it, on your back. That's how I do it, because God told me so. 2. Now. I'm sure that will free up a lot of time on your end, but just because I'm saying you should only do it on your back, it doesn't mean you have to do that in the back alley or, you know. I'm sure you have experience in that, my darling little girl in the greeny thing. Now, so, moral number 1, oral sex, shame, shame, shame. And I can see it in your face. I can see it in your face. You're thinking, I'm gonna go get me some after this. I better not find you doing that afterwards. Do you know how Herbert would feel? Tell her, Herbert. Herbert is feeling a little sick at the moment, and who can blame him? Just don't spit anything out. Now, the basic moral. Drugs are bad, except when you do it with people that you really like or really attractive people, that then it really doesn't matter what happens. Just be sure, don't do it with ugly people that you don't know, because then everything that happens matters. Everything that happens matters. And I assure you, I know that from experience. You know, things look good, and things definitely look bigger than they are when you're that fucked up. And then you realize they really weren't. Not only weren't that big, they actually weren't real. They had one of these down their pants. Have you ever been given a fake stiff before? I have. How do you think I ended up with this? See? You know. Drugs are bad, unless you smoke. Then it's good. Yeah. If your friends ask you for money, tell them they can go and possibly have a better luck finding it up their mother's vagina. But just remember, if you're going to put that in an email, remember to put sincerely yours. I do like it. She learned. I adore you. Now, other things. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 pot smokers in this room. Now think of it. Out of the 3 things that I'm about to say, only 2 of them have been proven to kill somebody. Now, making somebody stupid, that happens anyway. So who cares if you just speed it up a little? You know, cigarettes do kill. Do they or don't they? Yes. They do. Good, smart. Bad cigarettes, bad tobacco people, bad shame people. Now, alcohol. Cirrhosis of the liver, fatty liver, acting like a stupid redneck, going and beating up your wife, your friend's wife, somebody else's wife. That can happen when you drink. Can you imagine somebody going and beating somebody up after they smoked a bowl? No. You'd be like, even if somebody came in your face, you're like, man, It's just life is too good to ruin this moment. But if you were drunk, you're like, you motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, you redneck. Now, has anybody ever been stoned and did that? No. The worst that happened is you ended up falling asleep with the cushion in your mouth or something. Or it just felt that way, the cotton mouth thing. That's the worst thing you could do. I mean, you might be around your friends, you might even fart a little and not know because you're passed out. But if that's the worst thing you can do, if you're that stoned, in all honesty, it's still not the worst thing that could happen. So, alcohol, too much of it, bad, it can kill you. Cigarettes, not really good. For one, you all end up sounding like, who is that woman? Oh, you guys wouldn't know who Tallulah Bankhead is. Oh, she sounded like this. It's like a couple of weeks ago, if you talked to me, I felt like I had Tallulah Bankhead's pubic hair stuck in my head. I could either talk like this, or my voice would suddenly go down, and I'd be like, I don't know what I'm saying. Which was quite an experience. It turned on a lot of gay men. Wasn't exactly where I was going, but hell, what, if you can have it, you can have it. Who cares which way it turns? So, to the day that pot could be legal in this state, that we could enjoy it for those of us that can't eat, that'll give us an appetite. If you already eat too much, then that's probably not for you. If you don't eat enough, then it is. Other than that, it makes people mellower, much more bearable. I mean, I can say it about myself. I am an annoying, obsessive, bitchy, let's not belabor the point, you get the idea. I'm that type. But when I smoke, I'm just chatty. And a darling chatty person at that. Like, if two people happen to be having sex next to me, I'm like, would you like a condom? Lubrication? I become such like the Florence Nightingale of the orgy world. It's like, can I give you something? You seem to have everything you need. But can I get you something? More lubrication, a little bit of water, since you're doing a marathon here. All of that fabulous stuff. But with pot, back to, my favorite subject in the universe. Now, imagine if they legalize it. I can't wait until the day that Costco comes out with their family pack. Imagine in beautiful recycled paper packs. Of course, with plastic packaging, you don't want it to get dry before it gets to you, right? And, you don't want the whole weight to stink. But if it's legal, who cares? There are worse smells. I mean, have you ever been in New York in July and August? Smell of pot is not the worst thing you could encounter, really.